Shalom. My name is my name is Yehoshua Yaakov. I'm making this video from Jerusalem. I'm an American citizen, and I live in Jerusalem for the last 22 years. First, I want to thank Senator Obama for the lovely speech that he gave at Wesleyan, commencement address, standing in for Ted Kennedy, a man much beloved. I was born and raised in Massachusetts, and supported very strongly his older brother, and of blessed memory, Jack, and Bobby. Okay, I've been asked to make this video because I have a little bit of experience and knowledge of service. When Jack Kennedy said to the youth of America, "Ask not what you can do for ask not what your country can do for you. Ask what you can do for your country." I was obviously very impressionable and much impressed. Took it seriously and wondered what I should do. And the circumstance was I was the youngest of 7 boys, 6 surviving at the time. Today 5, and I was a high school dropout and had to go to work and be self-supporting. And so I continued to read the Bible and the classics and work. Traveled around the country, went through the stage of rebellion, but the ascent and the change came with that speech. I kept wondering, well, you know, with no education, I thought the only education, of course, I'm a didactic scientist today with world-class accomplishments, but I thought the only education was the one that you get if you go to college. So having dropped out of high school in 10th grade, I was trying to be a professional baseball player because I was a pretty big stick, could hit the ball pretty far, either side of the plate, right and left, switch hitter. But no speed, bad legs, bad knees. But anyway, they were looking for power hitters, and so I tried. And that didn't pan out. So I went to, I started to go to University of California, Costa Mesa. Went a couple of years to college, and one day I was sitting there looking out the window, reflecting on the very speech that Jack Kennedy said. And I said, whatever it is I'm supposed to do for my country, clearly it isn't sitting in this classroom, and it's a waste of time. And I'll just give one example. I asked some questions that repeatedly over months I was asking questions that the teachers couldn't answer. And that was the result of having already a reasonable philological education from reading the classics on my own. I didn't know I was self-educated. I didn't understand that. But after a time, I left college. I dropped out after a couple of years. And one of the subjects that I learned studied was cognitive behavioral science and economics. Those are the 2 that interested me most. So I went out and went to work, and I began to climb the ladder and got married and had some children and worked and this and that, and bought a house and sold a house and got another house. And after 7 years there was a divorce. I had to bring up the 2 children, Michael and Barbara, who are now adults in America, and did. Went on and started a business in America, in New Jersey, and began to become a servant to kings and rulers, and it was quite successful. And so I was being asked repeatedly, "What are you doing? You're wasting your time. You can get so much more money, do this and do that." And I had some of those older people advising me of all the ways to make money. A long story short and to the point, I wrote the classic, the result of many years of research. I produced the new economic paradigm, the integration of labor, and a very powerful, accomplished man who was on the board of directors of Exxon. I won't mention his name. He was executive vice president, etc., etc. He says, "Do you know what you've written?" And I said, "I think so, but I don't comprehend it just yet." And he said, you've written a classic, and it might take 20, 30, 50 years before anybody understands it. But you've identified information as, in classical terms, the new agent of transformation, and you've actually defined the model, the post-industrial model of economics, the new paradigm, the integration of labor. Well, that in 30 cents I thought would get me a pack of bubble gum. But that said, I went on and continued to work, and I began to get more money, and investors wanted to invest when they saw that I could do a few little things and create value. And so I wrote a proposal for a research, a basic research company called Bionet, and got a $15 million bond and a commitment for underwriting. And the next thing you know, one thing, I won't go into all the details, I was a millionaire on paper. And I was being drawn into something, and it felt to me very much like quicksand. I owned a big not so big, a 9-room house, 3 bathrooms, 3 cars in New Jersey, and Michael and Barbara were now adults, and I had 3 dreams, and I'm not going to talk about those 3 dreams, punctuated by 9 months. The first dream, 9 months passed. The second, 9 months passed, and then the third dream. So I went to a rabbi. I'd lived as a Jew by choice since, perhaps 1975, 1976, 77, something like that. So with this rabbi and asked him, I told him what the dreams were, and he said, you're going up to Israel. And I came, and there were no lights or whistles. Harav Kook, when he arrived in Israel, he was greeted. There was thongs and crowds, masses of people cheering, etc., etc. I got a bus to Jerusalem. And so a long story short and to the point, the ideological push came, and I was to do and being coaxed and coerced and everything else, and I won't go into the details. My 9-room house that I shipped was sequestered. Never saw it since, and insurance wouldn't pay. Etc., etc., etc. Went bad from worse, and the ideologue said, it's either or. And I said, well, I fear only God, not man, and continued to work. The net result is I am the author today of Humanomics, which is the post-collapse of the local reality. I observed the collapse of the local reality 18 years ago, and what comes after the collapse of the East-West systems is Humanomics, the convergence model. The East-West convergence model is called Humanomics. I'm its author, and it's a trilogy. It's comprised of 2 paradigms, the new economic paradigm, the integration of labor. That was my primary work previously, and subsequently and since, Humanomics' new central organizing principle to receive and to give. The significance of this service to Americans, to Israel, to the Jewish people, to the American people, to the world, is really quite significant. Why? Because the collapse of the local reality that I observed 18 years ago and has since been confirmed means the end of man's separation from his authentic self. For the religious, it means the end of exile and the beginning of redemption, the ascent of man from a mammalian animal to a cognitive being, etc., etc. So this is the paradigm shift that moves us from the behavioral mammal to cognitive being. Its significance is very great. So when the videos, instead of there being 30,000 views on YouTube, there'll be 300,000, 3 million, 30 million, 300 million. We will see the diffusion curve and the rather spectacular global dissemination, and that diffusion curve is very near because there are conditions that necessitate it. Okay, so that's my service. That's what I was called to do. I delivered, and I thank and bless the God of the cosmos for all of the blessings that showed me this road to service. I'm an American citizen. I'm still an American citizen. I kept my loyalties, and I refused any number of things. Anyway, summing up, I'm Yehoshua Yaakov. I'm the author of Humanomics, and its 2 paradigms received to give the integration of labor. I thank you for listening, and shalom.